Alright, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the 3 best cars to start out with for Turo. And these are going to be cars that have a low risk, yet a high demand. And what are the criteria for these vehicles that we're going to be looking at? So the first thing is that we want to have cars that have a low capital investment, but yet give us a high utilization. Second thing we're going to be looking at is, what do guests actually want? We'll show you, okay, how do you do some market research to determine this? Third thing, how is this going to work from an investment perspective? Does it make sense to get financing? Does it make sense to buy these cars cash? And what kind of dollar amount should we be looking at? And the third thing is going to be how to market your vehicle. Now, before you buy your first car, it's definitely a video you want to watch, because let me tell you, you buy the wrong car, first of all, the car might get delisted. It might sit around for a while, and those are just not issues that you want to deal with. So that was the whole purpose of us making this video. And I want to make sure that you guys stick around to the end, because another thing I want to cover in this video is, even if you don't have a ton of money to start, or you're not quite sure if this is going to work in your market, I'm going to cover some of those throughout the video. So make sure that you stick around through it. Now, first thing we're going to be talking about, which is, what cars can we get into this for a low capital investment that are going to have high utilization? And I'll actually tell you guys a story from when we got started, because I actually had the opposite perspective on this. When we first started, I was like, oh, we should get luxury vehicles because they'll make us more money and people like those vehicles more. Now, here's the problem. For those of you that have watched, George and I are based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We didn't do a lot of market research. We were just like, oh yeah, these cars will do well because they're luxury. So we went out and we got those cars, and we were surprised when our cars weren't consistently running out. And basically what we learned from that is that it's like, okay, we needed to look to see what exactly that the market wants. And to give you an idea for especially a market like Pittsburgh, I'll actually give you guys a funny example here. It's kind of like if you were going to start a vending machine business. You're not going to put filet mignon in a vending machine, because when people are going to a vending machine, they're not looking for steaks. It's kind of the same analogy for Pittsburgh. This really isn't a place that luxury cars would do super well. It's not a Miami. It's not an LA. It's not a Vegas. It's more of like a blue-collar working kind of town, which is how we found out that economy vehicles worked a little better for it. Now, second thing I want to talk about here, for those of you that are unfamiliar, what does this term utilization mean in this business? Basically, it's a fancy term for how many days that your vehicle is booking out for. Now, let's talk about what's good utilization versus bad utilization. Well, actually, let's split this into 3. Bad, good, excellent. Bad utilization would be if your car's only running out for around, let's say, 10 days a month. Good utilization, you're between 10 to 15 days. I'd say excellent utilization is anything above 20 days. What we're shooting for is excellent utilization. So this is something that you're typically going to see in cities where they do have airports, tourism, maybe local transit needs a little bit more. Those are the cities that this will work a little bit better in. And okay, so the other thing I want to dive into, because from telling you guys a story, but to talk about a little bit more, what is low capital investment? When I'm talking dollars wise, I think the best vehicles are the ones that are less than $10,000 to actually acquire. Now, past that, when a vehicle's under $10,000, we want to get reliable vehicles that also are going to have low maintenance needs. Ideally, you want to get vehicles that also have strong miles to gallon. Also a big deal for people that are renting, especially on this economic front, as they're looking to spend less on gas. And for you in general, vehicles that are less expensive tend to have lower insurance costs. So want to keep our costs as low as possible so that we can generate an income. And to dive deeper into this when it comes to the investment side, I'm more so of a fan of purchasing these economy vehicles cash, because ideally we can get themselves to pay off the vehicle within a 6 to 12 month time frame. If you are going to finance, try to keep your payment, I would say at the max $400 a month. We'll get into that a little bit more in the video later on. So let's talk about this. How do we figure out what a guest actually wants? Because remember from my story when I started, I didn't look at what the guests wanted. I got what I thought was going to do well, which is number one mistake in business. You never do what you want, you do what your customer wants. Okay, so how do we determine this? One way that you can determine it is that you can use Turo's national calculator. That'll kind of give you an idea for some major markets, New York, Chicago, Miami, LA. So if you're in any of those markets, that's a great tool because it'll give you an idea for what kind of revenue that the cars are producing. Now, if you actually want to take that against the expenses, Turo has another calculator on their website. I did a long video on it. I'll make sure that we link it below here. But you'll want to look at that one to see like, okay, here's the revenue. How do I break that down versus potential expenses? But okay, back to this. So when it comes to doing the market research, we didn't do it in the beginning. So now with the knowledge that I have, what exactly would I do? Well, the first thing I would look at is I'd go on Turo and I'd look to see what vehicles are performing. Well, what does that mean? It's a good little tidbit for you guys. If you're looking to get into this business, if you look specifically at the end of the month and the beginning of the month are kind of good times to see if a vehicle is renting out a lot. Because let's say you go on Turo, you go to a host that's super popular, you look at one of your vehicles, let's say it's the end of July. Well, if you see that there's a little dash mark throughout the days, that means that the vehicle was rented. So now you might be able to do some basic math and say, okay, this is what the vehicle's listed for now. Here's how many days it rented out for. Here's how much money that would equate to. Okay, if I'm at the 60-40 cut with Turo, let's say that the vehicle brought in $1,000. I know that my take home is $600. That's one way that you could do it. There are also third-party softwares that are out there that kind of connect to Turo, not really. Some of them give good data, some don't. I would recommend if you're new to this, stick to the data that Turo's giving you because that's going to be the most reliable, especially because they have a closed API, which for people that aren't as familiar with tech, it basically just means they close their system off. And to keep on this point, I know that a lot of you are thinking, again, luxury vehicles are going to work. BMWs, Teslas, please, if you're going to take anything away from this video, do your market research. Because I'm just like you guys. I thought that luxury would kill it in Pittsburgh. I'm like, oh, it's a mid-sized city. There's 1 million people in the metro. Like, there has to be some market for luxury. And I went and spent a ton of money without actually confirming that with any data. Please don't make my mistake. Look at your market, because maybe you are in a Miami or in LA where luxury vehicles can do well. Then you need to determine, okay, how can I get a luxury vehicle that'll actually be a sound investment? Ideally pays itself off within 6 to 12 months. But okay, if you're watching this video this far and you're thinking, all right, I do want to start a car rental business, but I don't really want to deal with all the pitfalls or how Peter said that he picked the wrong vehicles at the beginning. I don't want to do all of that. If you're that kind of person, go to carrentalcoach.com. We have a little survey on there. It's around 60 seconds. It basically tells us if you're qualified to work with us. If you are, me or one of my team members will get on a call with you personally. We'll analyze your market, get an idea of your goals, and we'll see if there's a way that we can help you. Again, only if you are super serious, though, does that make sense. If you're only looking to get one car and stick to that for a year or two, that's probably not the place. But back to the content here. So now let's talk about financing and loan advice in particular. So this is going to depend on what kind of person that you are. And we'll say that there are two kinds of people in regard to this. Let's say there's person A, which you're coming to this, you have $20,000 worth of liquid capital that you want to put into this business. If I'm on a call with you, I analyze your market looks good, I get a determining idea to say like, okay, you're pretty serious about this, you have good capital. Probably what I would recommend to you is that, okay, let's buy one vehicle. Let's make sure that this is a business that you actually want to pursue. And you guys would be surprised how much that I actually see this, which is that a lot of people we get on calls with, they come to us, they have 3 or 4 vehicles, and they don't even like the business. Well, my advice to those people is sell the cars and be done with it if it's not something that you actually enjoy. And it's the same thing starting out. I never recommend that people go out and buy 7 or 10 vehicles, even if they have the money. Let's get 1, let's get 2, see if you like it, If you do, then you can figure out the scaling conversation after that. Now, let's go on the other end and say that you're a person that has a decent bit of capital, but you have great credit history and you have access to financing. Well, you're a person that's watching this channel, so I'd say you're pretty smart. Why would we use our own cash when we could use the bank's cash or a financier's cash? Now, of course, I'm not saying this is always the answer. It doesn't make sense if you have a crazy interest rate or the terms don't make sense. But if those things do align, then I would say use the banks or the financiers as capital. Now, the caveat with this is that, okay, now you have a payment, you are going to have a little bit less take-home money, but hey, if it's less of your money up front, you might as well use it. And to give you an idea, typically clients that buy the cars cash, they look at around a 40 to 50% margin. If they're financing, hovers between 20 to 30%. So the big thing there is to figure out is what works for you, but that kind of gives you an idea if you have cash or if you're going more so with the financing route. Now, my third option, that's my favorite one, is that, okay, you do have cash, but you understand the leverage makes sense down the road. So then what you really need to do is that, okay, still start out with those 1 to 2 cars. Let's say that you have 30 or 40,000. Get a car, get 2, get some money coming in through your business for between, let's say, 6 months to a couple years. Now we can approach financiers and they're significantly more likely to give us money because now we have a track record with a business showing that we're actually profitable. So that's option 3 in regards to this. Now, the fourth thing I want to talk about is, okay, you have a vehicle. It's the right vehicle. You know, you got something that was a low investment. We know it can have a potential for high utilization. You purchased it the right way. Now your big thing here, and it's a car that people want. So the last thing is, how do we market this vehicle? Now, for those of you watching this video, we're about midway through 2025, coming into July. Turo's algorithm is always changing. So I'm going to tell you what's important to them right now. You want to make sure you have the right pictures, the right description. You want to make sure your pricing's in order. This third thing is something that has changed with the dynamic pricing. They changed it back in September, so make sure you do some research into that. But it's something that you always need to be looking at. It's not a set it and forget it kind of deal. Fourth thing, what do your discounts look like? That's a little bit of a longer conversation, which I did cover in a different video, but make sure you understand how the discounts go so you don't lose a ton of money because you're offering crazy discounts, but you don't want to hurt yourself in the algorithm. So make sure it's at that sweet spot. In part number 5 is, what do all of your back-end settings look like? Basically, which will make it where you get more bookings or less bookings. Some things to keep out for is availability of the vehicle. How long do you need for checkout process so then somebody can pick it up after? Things such as that. And another big thing that Turo's focusing on this year is reviews. Again, I did a whole long form video actually on the whiteboard that's right over there, but make sure that you understand it because reviews are critical for this business. How do you get good reviews? Make sure your vehicle's clean. Well, I'll actually tell you some of the stuff I'm rating on. Vehicle cleanliness, vehicle maintenance, overall experience that the guest had. So vehicle cleanliness, I recommend doing quick vacuum, wipe down. Before every single trip, make sure that the car's vacuumed, you wiped out the whole thing, and I would say get it washed if you can do so. Maintenance, get that car in a maintenance schedule so that you are consistently getting good reviews for the maintenance. And overall experience, answer your guests and don't get feisty with them. I know it's easy. They'll say, oh, your car sucks. I don't know why you gave me a bad car. It's easy to say, hey, my car doesn't suck. That car's been making money for 6 months or a year. Just give a nice response. Hey, sorry that this is your experience. I'll make sure to make it up to you in some way, shape, or form. It's the nicest way that you can go about saying it. So yeah, to give you guys a little bit of a recap of the video. So the big thing is we want to make sure that we were finding a car that has a low capital investment with a high demand or high utilization. Second thing is we want to make sure that we funded this business wisely so that it actually gives us a return. We are not about flexing here at Car Rental Coach. We don't need the Mercedes and the BMWs if they're not going to make us money. We want cars that will actually give us a return. And the last thing, make sure that you're on top of your marketing, specifically when it comes to Turo. Okay, make sure your pricing, description, pictures, back-end settings, and your discounts are all in order so that your car consistently gets rented. So appreciate you guys watching the video, and if you're looking for more content like this, see you on the next one.